Hey everyone, the smoke has cleared on Returnal. We are a little past the release date. I've watched minimal reviews on it. I have played through the game around 20-ish hours or so and would like to give you guys a quick opinion piece. This will kind of be a little scattered all over the place. The gameplay I will be showing contains no real spoilers, in my opinion. We show off 3 of the early game biomes, 1 early game boss, and a couple of weapons and mechanics that are fairly evident if you've seen any other reviews. So, speaking of mechanics and kind of how the game operates, as most people have pointed out, and as is very evident in the game, this is a roguelike. Roguelike with some Metroidvania mechanics in there, mixed around and centered around the idea that you gotta die. You gotta return, right? Hence the name. You have to consistently adapt and play through what is an RNG based, procedurally generated map every single time you play through the game. Now, with that being said, it could kind of turn some people off, but in my opinion, I think it really speaks and lends its hand to the actual story it's trying to tell as well as the gameplay. I liken it a lot to playing through Doom Eternal. Now, Doom Eternal wasn't a roguelike, but in terms of the twitchiness and the amount of trial and error the game kind of took on the much more difficult playthroughs and difficulties, right? This game is essentially operating on the same plane. You have to constantly be aware of positioning, what enemies are shooting at you, what kind of enemies are there, are any enemies spawning in, is my weapon reloaded, is my alt fire ready, etc., etc. It is a beautiful balance of colorful madness that also on many subsequent occasions required me to not blink for a very extended period of time. Now, from what I've kind of taken away just digging around on the internet, some people really did not seem to enjoy that. But in my opinion, it really kind of suits me, suits Housemarque, the developer of the game's kind of pedigree, and I think really complements itself to the gameplay overall. Now, as far as other mechanics go, going through the biomes and kind of liking it to the Metroidvania style that it is, subsequent playthroughs of the game and deaths will reward you with new items that will enable you to go back through and continue in other playthroughs and find new areas, solve new puzzles. And puzzles is a light term. There's not a whole lot of puzzles in the game besides some jumping and laser dodging, but still allow you to enter new areas and find new story beats to continue on your journey and level up Celine for your run through. Now, speaking of Celine in your run through, you level her up essentially one time through. Her equipment, the items you pick up, are all going to be one time use for that run. Now, with that being said, you do find some stuff that, again, lends itself to the Metroidvania aspect that will allow you to traverse the environment and find new rooms and whatnot in a different way. But as far as your guns, your abilities, artifacts, as they truly try and call them, parasites, which give you buffs and debuffs, your items, those all disappear on death. And lend yourself credit, I didn't die my first couple of plays of this game. I thought this main story was fairly easy, and then the game opens up and you are kind of required to ask more of yourself and to keep expanding and exploring, and the enemies they throw at you and the types of situations become a lot. And you can kind of see here in this gameplay, I'm getting hit a bunch here and there. I'm losing my adrenaline, which is a stacking buff that allows you to shoot and perform better in battle. Then there's also the art style, right? You can kind of see here by this device that Celine is entering. There is some freaky stuff going on in this planet, and very, as many other people have mentioned, H.R. Geiger inspired. I didn't get so much of the Alien vibes as I got more of the Prometheus, which I'm a fan of. Don't hate me. But with that being said, still phenomenal to look at. Every planet, every biome, every boss and enemy is so unique and interesting to fight against, both from a visual and gameplay perspective. Hats off to Housemarque. And speaking of hats off to Housemarque, the boss encounters in this game, oh my god. There was, again, many times for whether it be a minute to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 that I did not blink once. These require your full and undivided attention. You will be dodging, reloading, and alt firing your ass off to get out of all of the hectic projectiles and AoE attacks and melees and up close and personal situations that you will get into with these guys. It is a truly feast for the eyes. There was many points where during my playthrough and listening back to some of the gameplay, I am sitting there just dumb laughing, smile across my face, purely impressed with what they're able to put on here. And to some degree, I can kind of understand where people come from in terms of saying this game is insanely difficult and it's one of the hardest things ever, yada yada. I think that this game just demands your attention at all times. There is no hand holding. There's not going to be massive weak points or, QTE cutscenes and whatnot. It's essentially all dependent on the player and your input. You have an ability to dodge. You have the ability to jump. You can pick up certain items that can heal you or turn projectiles into this game's form of currency, etc., etc. They just give you the tools and also a little bit of the luck with the RNG system to do your best and to try and make your way through. And for that, I completely cannot recommend this game more. I think it is fully worth the price of admission, which leads me to a thought that I had, which I thought was fairly interesting, is that this is a $70 game. We are coming up pretty soon here on a year of the PS5 being out in the consumer marketplace. And for $70, and especially for those who own the digital PlayStation like I do, you're paying that money, and there's no GameStop, refurbished, used game situation going on. Now, do I think that should hold anyone back from playing this? No, this game has insane replay value. And for better or for worse with the RNG system, if you're chasing a platinum trophy or 100%, it'll take you a long time. I've read it took some people upwards of 90 hours almost to finally try and get the luck of the draw and get certain runes to spawn certain items, etc., etc. But that being said, with the most minor of gripes out of the way, and it's just due to the nature of the RNG, is Returnal worth it? Would I recommend Returnal to anyone who has the $70 to purchase a next generation title? Yes. Yes, I would. I think supporting a game like this, supporting Housemarque and Sony's decision to back a game like this is very important. And even besides that, if it was bad, I probably wouldn't want to back it, but it is so good, and I think it requires a lot of the player. It demands your attention, and that's what a game wants. And the best part is, it is a pick up and play. You can play it for 2 to 3 to 4 to 6 hours at a time. You can sit down and play one run through if you only have an hour or two in your day to play some games, and you will have the most enjoyment out of it. So, with the smoke clearing, the hype dying down, the initial views out the window, and with a playthrough and some change under my belt, is Returnal worth it? Yes, I've said that. Please spend the money on it. Please recommend it. And above all else, create your own opinion, guys. Have a great time. I didn't cover every aspect of the game in this video because I think it is worth playing. If you are not a fan of roguelikes, if you are not a fan of the kind of twitchy action gameplay that revolves around games like Doom Eternal or punishing aspects where it's a one death and you lose, like a game like Hades and other roguelikes that I have no idea to even mention right now, or even if you don't like Metroidvanias, collecting items and going back to the environment on subsequent run-throughs, then hey, don't play it. But I will say, if you were interested in opening your gaming palette, can't recommend Returnal enough. So this has been an episode of The Smoke Has Cleared. I usually do these, or will continue to do these, after a little bit of time when games come out, get away from the hype, formulate my own opinion. And now that that's done with Returnal, I hope you guys can take this away and make the jump yourself. So please, go ahead, support Housemarque, support endeavors like this, and maybe even support me too. Go ahead and throw a like, or throw a mean comment making fun of my audio setup and recording setup. Go for that too, I just love feedback. So, enough about me. This has been The Smoke Has Cleared. Returnal. I'm Adonis. And I'll see you guys next time.